My favorite so far is a Photoshop of aging Sulu and Chekhov at their positions on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise, with inauguration Sanders glowering from the captain's command chair. Star Trek: The Final Generation, it says. Sanders is actually into the meme and is authorizing its use now on sweatshirts, etc., to raise money to help feed low-income seniors in Vermont. He projects it'll make millions. I'm David Brancaccio. This is the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
JEA has proudly served Northeast Florida for over 100 years by volunteering in our local schools and neighborhoods in support of the causes our customers care about. Because we're committed to this community we all call home. More information at domorewithjea.com.
Wayne Hogan of the Terrell Hogan Personal Injury and Wrongful Death Law Firm. Serious injury cases are complex, and civil trial attorneys present the evidence juries need to see and hear. More at waynehogan.law.
Baptist Health knows managing your health is still important during COVID-19. Secure online appointments are now available through our Health Place On Demand app 24/7 with trusted board-certified ER and family physicians. More at baptisthealthplace.com.
This is WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. Ahead in the next 5 minutes, live local news for the First Coast from the WJCT News team.
Ramping up testing for those most at risk of contracting COVID-19. I'm Melissa Ross, and that's just ahead this hour on First Coast Connect as we welcome Mia Jones, CEO of Agape Family Health. Then later,
educators are working incredibly hard right now, doubly hard, in fact, amidst the pandemic, and they deserve this recognition very much.
Teachers on the front lines of the COVID pandemic, they're being honored at Jacksonville's Eddie Awards. We'll have a preview. Plus, you've seen the memes everywhere. We'll tell you how one local company is capitalizing on the Bernie Sanders image from that inauguration. All of that and more is just ahead. After the day's news.
Live from NPR News, I'm Corva Coleman. The House is poised to transmit an article of impeachment against former President Donald Trump to the Senate this evening. As NPR's Barbara Sprunt reports, the move will trigger preparations for a historic trial.
The formal step comes just over a year since the House last transmitted an impeachment measure against Trump to the Senate. This time, the rebuke is for Trump's role in inciting the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The senators, who act as jurors in an impeachment trial, will be sworn in on Tuesday. The trial itself will begin on February 9th, which gives House impeachment managers and Trump's defense team 2 weeks to file briefs and finalize their legal preparations. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told reporters he expects the trial to move quickly.
It will be fair, but it will move at a relatively fast pace.
In the meantime, the Senate will continue with other business, such as confirming more of President Biden's cabinet nominees. Barbara Sprunt, NPR News.
The Chicago public school system has delayed students' return to classrooms today. This has been postponed until at least Wednesday. The decision comes after the Chicago Teachers Union said its members are not ready yet to come back. From member station WBEZ, Sarah Karp reports they're citing the pandemic.
Teachers and other school staff approved the resolution calling to continue only with remote learning until the school district and their union agree on a deal over bringing students back into schools. The union does not want staff to be forced to return if they're scared for themselves or a family member. Meanwhile, the school district is trying to make sure there's enough staff in schools to offer in-person learning for those families who want it.
Sarah Karp reporting. Italy says it will sue 2 pharmaceutical companies over delays in the delivery of COVID-19 vaccines. NPR Silvia Poggioli reports officials say their aim is not money, but to force the drug makers to meet Italy's scheduled vaccination program.
Foreign Minister Luigi Di Maio told Italian TV the companies are not respecting a European Union contract, and thus we will take legal action to ensure our vaccine plan doesn't change. Pfizer announced last week it was slowing supplies to Europe due to manufacturing changes to boost output. AstraZeneca, still waiting for EU approval of its vaccine, also announced initial deliveries will fall short due to production problems. Italy got off to a speedy start of its vaccination program with 70% of doses injected. But health officials say the delays in deliveries could put back vaccinations of the over 80s by 4 weeks and by 2 months for the rest of the population. Sylvia Polgioli, NPR News, Rome.
Meanwhile, drug maker Merck says it is halting the development of 2 experimental COVID-19 vaccines. The company cited disappointing results in early studies. Merck says it will focus now on drug therapies to help people with the disease. You're listening to NPR.
And good morning. It's 4 minutes after 9. This is WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. I'm Michelle Corum. Florida's jobless rate dipped to 0.2 percentage points in December amid what state officials say is growing economic confidence as the COVID-19 pandemic continues. The State Department of Economic Opportunity on Friday announced a 6.1% unemployment rate. That's down from 6.3 in November. Adrienne Johnston, the department's chief economist, points to the continued growth in seasonal hiring.
It just generally reflects a growing confidence in businesses reopening and adding jobs and individuals going back into the labor market and finding employment.
Appearing in Key Largo Friday, Governor Ron DeSantis credited his policies of reopening schools and businesses during the pandemic, in contrast to some other parts of the country.
Many other states have lost jobs, and of course the U.S. as a whole lost jobs month over month. And so we are not only gaining jobs, but we're doing it against the tide of where other places are shedding jobs.
Several employment categories saw increases in jobs last month, including professional and technical services, retail, and real estate. Right now in downtown Jacksonville, the temperature's in the low 60s. It's cloudy. We have fog still in some areas of Jacksonville. It's going to be cloudy and warmer for today, reaching the upper 70s. A southwest wind 10 miles per hour, mostly cloudy down to the mid-60s tonight, and partly sunny tomorrow, again in the upper 70s.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. For more than 90 years, supporting efforts to promote a just, equitable, and sustainable society. More at mott.org. And the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Everyone has been affected by the pandemic, but some communities, they're especially vulnerable. Good Monday morning. We're live from Studio 5. I'm Melissa Ross, and this is First Coast Connect. Thanks for listening. Just ahead this Monday morning, we find out how Jacksonville's Agape Health is testing higher-risk people on the First Coast for COVID and combating disinformation and bad information about the virus. Give us a call now. It's 549-2937. Then later, those Bernie Sanders memes are everywhere, and of course, they're now on merchandise. We'll tell you how one local shop is cashing in on that craze. But first this hour, the latest numbers on the pandemic. The number of confirmed coronavirus cases in the U.S. now tops 25 million, according to data from Johns Hopkins University's Coronavirus Resource Center. Now, this marker was reached Sunday morning, almost exactly 1 year after the first case of the virus was detected in this country. Here in Florida, the Department of Health reports 1.64 million cases and 25,293 deaths. Now, as I mentioned, the pandemic has affected us all, but it has hit poor residents and people of color the hardest. The Agape Family Health Center, in partnership with the city of Jacksonville, is working to provide COVID-19 testing targeting communities of higher risk. And these tests will also include opportunities to share information on how people can lower their risk of infection. Mia Jones is CEO of Agape Family Health. It's a federally qualified health center providing medical, home, and primary care services in specific neighborhoods of Jacksonville, and she is on the line. Mia Jones, good to have you back on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Melissa. It's always great to be with you.
Great to have you. It's 549-2937 as we talk about COVID-19 and the hardest hit communities in this city. What are your thoughts and comments? 549-2937. Emails to firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. Tweets to @MelissaInJax. Our Facebook page is open. So tell us about this effort that Agape is partnering up with the city of Jax.
Yes, we have been testing since September in partnership with the city of Jacksonville, which allowed us to expand the amount of testing that we were doing because we started back in July independently having to fund those tests. And so we recognize that it is critically important for us as a federally qualified health center where we are already located in what the federal government considers hot zones. And we are always looking for opportunities for us to make sure that our patients and those within those communities where we're located are able to access the services that are necessary for them to be healthy and for their families to be healthy.
When you talk about a hot zone, what does that mean? Tell us what defines a hot zone and where they are in Duval County.
So the hot zones that we're located in, we're off of King Street over on the west side by Beaver. And we're also located at Blandon and 103rd, University Boulevard across from Memorial Hospital, as well as Dunn Avenue, and then Merrill Road. All of those locations, when you look at the demographic numbers, the income levels, the health disparities, all of those are not where we would want them to be. And so the federal government approves for us to go into those locations and to provide what we would be able to do, which is primary care services, and to be that medical home for those families within those communities. Most of our patients are, probably about 50% of our patients are uninsured. We provide services for uninsured.
Yep, we lost you there, Mia Jones. We might have to connect you back again as we speak with Mia Jones, CEO of the Agape Family Health Center, about the hot zones in this city and efforts to test and vaccinate for COVID-19. We'll go to your calls in a few minutes at 549-2937. And of course, as I mentioned, everybody is at risk for COVID-19. But there are factors that make the risk higher and increase rates in poorer communities, uninsured communities, sometimes communities of color. And so Agape and the city of Jax are working on this because, certain zones, as we just heard Mia say, are hot zones. They're more at risk. Okay, I think we have you back, Mia Jones. If you could continue with what you were saying.
So we try to make sure that we're available to those that are uninsured, underinsured, as well as insured patients. And when it comes to these patients, most of our patients start coming to us when they don't have a job and they don't have insurance. We encourage them to stay with us after they get a job and get insurance because that opens the door for us to be able to help somebody else later on down the line. We recognize that COVID-19 has hit everyone hard, but our communities are hit harder because 9 times out of 10, if they are working positions that they have to come in contact with a lot of people. They are our grocery store workers. They are our bus drivers. They are even teachers. And they are on the front line just like our medical providers every single day. And so we recognize that we have to make it convenient for them in order for them to be able to continue to provide provide the services that we as a general community need, but also for them to be protected and their families to be protected.
What are your thoughts and questions for Mia Jones of Agape Health as we talk about this effort to test and protect people in the highest risk communities of Jacksonville for COVID-19? Give us a call. We'll go to your calls in a few minutes at 549-2937. And you're so right, Mia, the people bagging your groceries or delivering them to your front door, teachers, people working in stores, people doing jobs that come into high contact with large numbers of the public. Not always are people of color, but disproportionately poor Americans and Americans of color are working, and women especially, are working in these positions that bring them into contact with lots and lots of other people and increase their risk of contracting the virus, where other Americans are insulated. Maybe they're able to work from home, work remotely on their computer, do a lot of Zoom events so that they can keep connected to the office. So there is a real demographic divide in this country when we see the risk that some people are facing for the virus, for getting the virus, and other Americans are able to insulate themselves. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Many of our families that we're talking about, they may have 2 or 3 jobs because they are not even making the minimum wage isn't a livable wage for them to be able to support their families and to make sure that their responsibilities are taken care of. And so oftentimes you find that they're working multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. You'll have multiple generations living within one home. So you'll have grandma, mom, and children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren living in the home. And we know that as our kids go out, they are more likely to be asymptomatic when they come back in or when they are diagnosed with COVID. And so as they're having to live in the household with the various generations, we're finding families coming down with COVID and having to figure out how you work through that. And if you're in a house with that many generations, you know that you don't have that much room available to you. Quarantining becomes very difficult. And so all of those things become impacts on these families and things that we as a community and what we do at Agape, we work to try to alleviate those impacts as much as we can. So we're available free of charge for them to get tested as many times as they need to be tested. And we look forward to being able to be a key partner as we step into the vaccine arena and making sure that we can get as many of our community members vaccinated as possible. We know that this is really what's going to make the difference. We have to keep washing our hands. We have to keep social distancing. We have to make sure that we're doing those things that are showing themselves to be helpful. But at the same time, we have to provide those medical services for our community to be able to make sure they're wearing their mask, but make sure that they are coming in, getting tested. They know what their status is so that we don't continue to spread this virus over and over and over again.
Yeah. The website, by the way, to get a free COVID test through Agape Family Health is jaxcovidtesting.com, jaxcovidtesting.com. And as we move into talking about vaccinations, I want your calls, everybody, as we continue the conversation with Mia Jones, CEO of Agape Family Health. Let us know if you've had trouble accessing an appointment to get a vaccine, or maybe you've already been vaccinated. Give us a call at 549-2937. Mia, let's talk about the vaccination rollout around Florida. And in Jacksonville, Governor Ron DeSantis has really pinned his COVID strategy on vaccinations, particularly on people age 65 and older. He appeared Friday on Fox News and touted giving first doses of vaccines to nearly 1 million seniors. We found out later the number was closer to 800,000. Of course, vaccine supplies remain very limited, and 20 1,000 of the Florida resident deaths from COVID did involve people age 65 or older. Long-term care deaths have also taken a heavy toll. And in fact, Florida has the fourth largest number of COVID-19 deaths in America, behind New York, California, and Texas. And while they are seeing larger numbers of deaths in South Florida, the virus is impacting us up here in Jacksonville just as much. Now, as we talk about the vaccination rollout, the scarce amount of supply, criticism of the state's initial response, although they certainly are trying to increase access with a new site at the Regency Mall, for example. What are your thoughts as CEO of a health organization about the vaccination effort and where it's fallen short in Florida and where you think it needs to go from here?
I think our most difficult issue has been the availability of the vaccines, and we knew that was going to be the case. It's just getting approved. We are not only is these vaccines are they only needed in the United States, but they're needed across the world. And so as we are working to make sure that we have the systems in place to be able to provide the vaccines to our communities, the manufacturing component becomes really critical, and making sure that the distribution and the logistics of that distribution is one that is seamless. And so we know that the start of this has not been seamless. We have had to find ways to work around a lot of different issues. And so as you hear the governor speak about making sure that you're vaccinating those that are 65 and older, we know that they're the most vulnerable. We want to get them vaccinated, but we have to make that vaccination opportunity easier for them. And I think that that's one of the things that has frustrated me, is that the idea of seeing a senior in their 70s or 80s standing in a long line, waiting even after they might have been able to get an appointment, is something that is just, it's not right. It's just not right. And so we have to find ways to make sure that we are in these communities, that we are available to be able to provide the vaccinations to the seniors for now, but to be able to provide the vaccinations to our communities is going to be critical as we continue to move forward.
Now,
I believe.
Oh,
go ahead.
Is Agape providing any vaccinations, or it's my understanding that the state is now really taking over most of the vaccination program in this community and really around Florida as well?
Yes, so we did receive our first allocation of vaccines, and we started with our patients that were 65 and older, and making sure that we made calls to them, that we got them appointments set up, and that we got them in. Of course, we're dealing with some people who are not comfortable with the vaccine yet, but we will continue to reach out to them and to help to educate them on why it's so important. We have continued that for the doses that we received. We finished up our allocation on Saturday, and we are waiting for our next allocation to come in. And so when we are seeing over 12,000 patients in a year and we receive 600 vaccines, you can tell that that does not get us to where we need to be. And so we will continue to work. We will continue to be ready. And I think that as the president has indicated that he will do all that he can to make sure that the manufacturing of the vaccines and the distribution of the vaccines improves and it increases, that we will start to see here in Jacksonville improvement.
Let's hope so. And, you know, let's talk about the city of Jacksonville's response. Mayor Lenny Curry has worked with his team to not only extend the mask mandate for Duval County throughout this pandemic, but also to try to provide multiple opportunities for vaccinations. Like so many other mayors and leaders around the country, though, he has been stymied by the lack of supply. And what are your thoughts about the Biden administration promising to invoke the Defense Production Act to drastically increase vaccine supply over the next couple of months and get 100 million Americans vaccinated in 100 days? Oh, I think we might have lost Mia Jones once again. The perils of interviewing guests over the phone. And you know what? Let's take a quick. Do we have her back? Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. I don't know why you keep going in and out, but go ahead.
Yeah. So what we recognize is that we have to make sure that we are focused on getting the job done. And the way we do that is to implement those things that President Biden has outlined. And I think that they have had an opportunity to see how the beginning of the rollout took place, and they are able to take a step back and put a new plan in place that will allow us to be actively engaged on a larger scale in making sure that the Defense Act is implemented, that manufacturing of not only the vaccines, but also the new syringes that have come out and will allow us to get more out of the vaccine that's being produced will help us as well. And so I think that we're in a good place, and I believe that the 100,000 people being vaccinated will happen.
Yeah, the 100 million. Now,
100 million over 100 days.
Can you explain a little bit more about what the Biden administration is saying it's going to do? They're going to eke out more vaccine with changing the way the syringes are used. Can you talk a little bit more about how that might work?
Yes. So as you are taking the vaccine out of the vials that they are provided in, depending on the type of syringe that you're using, you may or may not be able to get more out of the vial. Think of it like if you bought a bottle of lotion and you're using the bottle of lotion, but it's got a pump on it. Well, once it gets to a certain point, it's really hard to get that lotion out of the container because the pump isn't able to reach that last little bit. And so making sure you have these new syringes will allow you to get that last little bit out of the vial, and that then creates an additional vaccination for an additional person. And so that's what we want to be able to do, is to make sure that we are using as much of the vaccination supply as we can, because that will allow us to touch that many more people.
549-2937. Mia Jones, as you mentioned a minute ago, even as vaccinations get into more arms, we can't stop doing what we've been doing. We can't stop wearing masks. We can't stop distancing. We have to keep our guard up for a while longer. How much does Agape Health work to get that information out to the public and maybe to combat bad information people have about this virus?
So we are constantly providing CDC recommendations to the public as they come and get tested. We're providing them with recommendations on how they need to be living their lives and what things they need to be doing in order to stay safe and to keep their families and our community safe. And that comes, it's not something we have to reinvent. The CDC has laid that out. We provide that in a written form. We make sure that we are sharing that information as much as possible so that our communities can do their part. We know that this is not something that one person is going to solve. We all have to be engaged, and it has to be a conscious effort to make sure that we're doing what's necessary. Just because the vaccines have come out and they have started being distributed doesn't mean we need to stop testing. We know that we are out in the community. Our clinics have stayed open the entire time, just like our hospitals have had to stay open. And now that we have taking our kids back to school, we need to make sure that they are protected, that their teachers are protected, that the administration is protected. And then when you start to look at those who are coming in contact with not only people, but also coming in contact with those things that we would discard. So our sanitation workers, those who may be janitors, those who are cleaning hotels, a lot of people, when they have to quarantine, if they can't quarantine at home, they're going to our local hotels. And so then that puts those who are working in the hotel at risk, those that are there and making sure that the place is clean, that it is ready for a new resident to come in. All of those things have to be taken into consideration, and we have to make sure that we continue to beat that drum, get tested, know what your status is, make sure that the people around you are getting tested. A lot of people are getting stir crazy.
Yeah.
They want to get back together. They want to spend time with their friends. They have to be conscious of those things. And so a group of my friends, we wanted to get together, and we said, okay, if we're going to get together, everybody has to get tested before we get together and show that you got a negative result back. And that's how we took the time to do that, but we still social distance even in us getting together. That group remained small in us getting together. We made sure we wore our masks through that entire opportunity for us to just be around one another once again. And we know that it's necessary. We're finding a lot of our patients are having behavioral health issues that they didn't previously have before COVID. And so we have to be able to provide those services, and that's what Agape is here to do.
Speaking of which, here's an email from a listener. We are grateful to Agape. They vaccinated my 97-year-old grandmother and my 99-year-old great-aunt last week. They called us after hours when they had extra vaccine available, and we ran in at a moment's notice. I hate it that we had to get it over others of low income who need it more, but these ladies could not wait in line for hours and not have access to restrooms and be exposed to the virus in line. I wish Trump and DeSantis could be more organized so we didn't have to go in for shots over these lower income families who need the vaccine too. Thank you for what you do for our community, Agape. So, okay, so you've got some fans out there. And certainly there has been frustration with both the federal and the state rollout of the vaccination effort, although to be fair, it's been 100 years since America has had to do this. I will say that. Now, before we let you go, Mia Jones, as I said, the website to get tested or inquire about a vaccine is jackscovidtesting.com. How else can people access the services of Agape Family Health?
They can give us a call at 904-760-4904. And we have, as I said, 5 locations around our city. We're providing primary care, behavioral health services to the community, and we are also providing testing 6 days a week, 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. We're at our Dunn Avenue location, as well as Blanding Boulevard. And then we are also located on Thursday and Friday at Clansell Brown Senior Center. We provide that testing between 11 and 6 o'clock on every day of the week. And on Saturdays, we go out and do outreach. And so we identify locations where there will be large numbers of people, whether they're apartment complexes or events that might be going on. And we provide testing there at those locations free of charge. So if any of your listeners have opportunities where they would like us to come out and to set up testing, we would love to do that. All they need to do is give us a call at 904-760-4904, and we will schedule that. And know that as soon as the vaccines are available, we will continue to make those calls, again, starting with our patients, going to those who've been tested with us, and followed by just the general community. We are here to provide the necessary health care services for the entire community, and especially focusing on those who are most vulnerable.
Yeah. Here's another email from a listener. It's from a retired nurse, Diana in St. Augustine. She says, thank you to Agape Health for their COVID initiatives. It seems building and accessing networks and relationships among healthcare providers, agencies, and the community at large will be key to distributing and administering the COVID vaccines efficiently. To that end, as a practicing registered nurse, I have not seen or heard that the entities involved in vaccinating have tapped into the abundant resource of retired nurses, nursing and paramedic schools, and currently practicing nurses. At each license renewal, we're asked if we would be willing to help in times of crisis, but I have yet to be approached. And I'd love to be asked, she says. And so that's really interesting, Mia. There are a lot of retired nurses and healthcare workers out there that want to do their part. Before we let you go, what are your thoughts about that?
I believe in that 100%, to the extent that our outreach started with us going to some retired nurses, and we have retired nurses supervising our testing. On Saturday, I reached out to a number of those who have retired and asked them to come and help us because we didn't get any additional funding. The city didn't help us to fund being able to do the vaccines. The state provided them to us, and it was up to us to figure out how we were going to do it. And so I am thankful, and I recognize that those retired nurses, the EMTs, those that are out there who have the experience are available to us. But what I will tell you is some of them are concerned because they are older, and they are concerned about being in the environment where they could possibly catch COVID. And so as we have the vaccine, I believe that as we can get more of them vaccinated and covered, I think that more of them will participate. Our pharmacists in the state of Florida are allowed to give vaccinations. We had pharmacists that volunteered on Saturday to help us. And we have a lot of people out there with the knowledge that are available to us, but it's a matter of making sure that they're safe as they come to provide the service to our community. And we will continue to build upon that. So I thank your listener for sharing that. And I would love for you to send me those emails so that I will reach out to the organization where they are licensed and see if we could get maybe a listing, and we could share that with the other FQHCs around the state so that they can reach out to them as well.
Let me give a few more access points for listeners. jackscovidtesting.com, the number 904-760-4904. And to email you or your staff, what is the best way, Mia?
The best way for them to they can just email me at Mia, MIA.Jones, JONES, at agapefamilyhealth.org. That's agapefamilyhealth.org.
Mia Jones, CEO of Agape Family Health. Thanks for all you do, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Melissa. And you all have a blessed day and stay safe.
All right. And much more coming up later. We've got some spring break travel tips to keep you COVID safe. But up next,
educators are working incredibly hard right now, doubly hard, in fact, amidst the pandemic, and they deserve this recognition very much.
How local teachers risking their lives to keep educating your children are being honored this month here in Jacksonville via the Eddie Awards. We'll be right back.
I'm Carol Hills. Next time on The World, fallout from the attack on the Capitol. There's a call for legislation that would allow authorities to investigate domestic terrorism in the same way they investigate terrorism from abroad. But civil and human rights groups say not so fast. How a domestic terrorism law could be misused. Our story on The World.
Tomorrow at 3 here on WJCT News 89.9.
Well, the Eddie Awards are coming up soon, honoring some of the most amazing heroes around in this pandemic, our school teachers. With a preview, here's Rachel Tutwiler Fortune, CEO of the Jax Public Education Fund. Rachel, good to talk to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Melissa.
It's exciting to see that you are recognizing the Teachers of the Year and doing it on TV at our news partner, Channel 4 News for Jax. Teachers have become frontline workers in this pandemic. They have been through the ringer, and I think parents in particular recognize what a difficult job they've had through this whole challenging time. So tell us a little bit more about this ceremony and JPEF's work in honoring outstanding teachers in the community.
Absolutely. Well, as you said, Melissa, educators are working incredibly hard right now, doubly hard, in fact, amidst the pandemic, and they deserve this recognition very much. This year, as in-person gatherings are limited, the Eddie Awards is taking to the airwaves through a special partnership with Channel 4, the local station. We're airing the Eddie Awards through an hour-long TV special celebrating teachers. We have some amazing stories, surprise recognitions, celebrity shout-outs. We worked really hard with an amazing team of creative people to make sure this is a celebration of all teachers in Duval County.
And are you having some teachers host parties in their classrooms to kind of celebrate at a distance? Is that right?
That's right. We have invited all schools to have watch parties. Classrooms from across Duval will be tuning in to join the celebration. We want them to be able to have a little fun during this hard year, so we appreciate you having us so we can really spread the word and encourage everyone to tune in to see how amazing our teachers are.
So the Eddie Awards will air Wednesday, January 27th from 12:30 to 1:30, so in the middle of the day, during the school day.
That's right, and people can tune in by tuning into WJXT Channel 4, and they can also watch on news4jax.com.
All right. Again, that's Wednesday during the noon hour. So you're working on something else at JPEF, the Jacksonville Public Education Fund. This is the Edelman Fellowship, and you want public school teachers in Duval County to apply. Tell us a little bit more about this opportunity.
Yes, the Cindy Edelman Excellence in Teaching Fellowship is really an unprecedented opportunity for K-12 Duval County public school teachers. Through the fellowship, teachers have the opportunity to elevate their careers through a professional development activity. It's really a great creative way for teachers to get re-inspired in their work because they can pick and design their own learning experience. They can, as an individual, receive up to $6,500 per person, or if they'd like to apply as a team, $10,000, up to $10,000 is available for teams of teachers for approved expenses.
Okay, so it's all at jaxpef.org, the Jacksonville Public Education Fund. The deadline to apply for that fellowship is February 21st. And what's it been like at your organization, by the way, Rachel? I ask everybody this since I haven't seen anyone I've interviewed in practically a year. What's it been like at your workplace throughout this process?
You know, we have had our staff working virtually for the most part. Some of us have a couple days of the week that we're coming into the office. But really, our team has just doubled down, and we want to do as much as we possibly can to support our educators and our students through this time. I'll give you one example. The Saturday before last, at JPEF, we hosted a really powerful session for teacher leaders, just about how to care for themselves and for their students during stressful times. And it was really incredibly received by the teachers, and they were able to express just how difficult this year has been and get some practical resources that can help them. So we just really feel like our mission at JPEF is more important than ever. And, you know, speaking of the Edelman Fellowship, we're very grateful for Dan Edelman, who initiated this permanent fund at the Community Foundation to honor his wife, Cindy, and other partners who have really just joined in the effort to help us make sure that we are able to support our students and our educators who need us the most during these challenging times.
Again, more at jaxpef.org, and make sure to catch the 30th Annual Eddie Awards Wednesday on the 27th from 12:30 to 1:30. on Channel 4 or at news4jax.com. Rachel Tutwiler Fortune, heading up the Jacksonville Public Education Fund. Good to hear your voice. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Well, throughout this whole ordeal, most Americans have been traveling much less or not at all. Spring break is around the corner, and what does that mean for people who have pandemic fatigue and are really itching to just get away? I talked about some ideas and options with author and travel expert Christopher Elliott.
Hi, Chris. Good to talk to you. Thanks for being with us.
Nice to talk to you.
You know, after about a year of this pandemic, I think people really are just desperate to do some traveling, but they have so much trepidation about it. And as we look ahead to spring break, what are you envisioning this holiday? How are people going to approach the spring break week?
Well, you know, this spring break is going to be a little different from past spring breaks. A lot of travelers are still a little bit nervous about, you know, the whole COVID situation and the safety at their destination. So in talking with them, I have found that they are waiting until the last minute, and that means there'll be more deals as we get closer to spring break because, you know, there's less demand. And some of them are actually staying home. I've talked to quite a few who just say, look, this is not the year for a spring break. So it's not going to be the same big beach scene that we're used to for spring break.
Sure. So what are some safe travel options that people are sort of tentatively thinking about doing? Where are some safe places to travel? Or are there any?
Yeah, well, the safest option, as you suggested, is staying home right now. I mean, it's still very dangerous out there. So if I had to make a decision to go anywhere now, it would be just not to go anywhere. But as we get closer and more people get vaccinated and, you know, we don't know what the advisories are going to be like in March or April. And you know, spring break is something that doesn't happen at the same time for each school district, so it really just depends. But as we get closer, I think people are going to be weighing the danger at their destination and maybe whether they've had the vaccine or not with, you know, needing to just get out and do something fun. We haven't had a vacation in some of us for a year or more. So maybe this is a good time to actually think about going.
Now, what about verification of being vaccinated? How is that expected to affect travel? You know, will people have to show on their passport or in some other way that they've received the COVID vaccine before they can travel to certain places around the world?
Yeah, so most of the trips, spring break trips, are going to probably be domestic this year. We're not going to see a lot of international, even though places like Mexico and the Caribbean you can travel there, they're open, and in many cases there are no requirements. You don't have to even have a negative COVID test to get into a place like Mexico. But in terms of proving that you've been vaccinated, that's a tough one because when you get a vaccine, they give you this white sheet of paper from the CDC that just basically documents your vaccine, and it's not a secure document, so anyone can fill one out. The other document that people are getting is called a yellow card. It's issued by the World Health Organization, and that also is not a secure document. That is something that documents all of your shots. So if you go someplace where a yellow fever vaccine is required, they'll mark it down there. So they're still working on a secure vaccine passport, but in the meantime, the passport that really is going to matter, of course, is the one that you have, and then also a negative COVID test.
Okay. So with all of that said, do you anticipate people might be thinking about a short trip this spring break, maybe just within a few hours driving distance, something that isn't too big of a leap, but they can still maybe enjoy a quick getaway?
Absolutely. The staycation, as it's called, has been really big since last summer, and I expect that to continue. So a state or a national park or beach, just not a very crowded beach, hopefully, those are going to be really popular. The longer, destination getaway where you're getting on a plane and flying somewhere, maybe not so much this year.
Yeah, of course. And what about you? What are you going to be doing for travel, if anything, this spring and this summer?
Well, I live in Sedona in Arizona, and so we have plenty of things to do around here, hiking and just a lot of outdoors things. And I have promised my kids that I'm not going to go anywhere until I get the vaccine. So I'm waiting to get the vaccine. After that, all bets are off. I'm going somewhere.
And then you're going. Well, check out Chris's book, How to Be the World's Smartest Traveler. You can also read a lot of his other writing about travel online, including in the Washington Post, other sites. Author and advocate and journalist Christopher Elliott, thanks for being with us.
Sure thing.
A quick break, and when we come back, what was your favorite Bernie meme? You know what I'm talking about. Well, there's now Bernie merch following on that viral moment, and we will speak with one local boutique who is putting product out as we speak. In fact, their website even crashed. A conversation with Bobby Kay after this. You're listening to First Coast Connect on WJCT News 89.9. Don't go away.
Maribyrnong has been called one of Jacksonville's most significant historic homes. I'm Ben Brotmarkle, and coming up on Florida Frontiers, the weekly radio magazine of the Florida Historical Society, will visit Maribyrnong with Jacksonville writer Tim Gilmore. We'll talk about special events happening as part of the 32nd annual Zora Neale Hurston Festival of the Arts and Humanities. That and more on Florida Frontiers, Monday evening at 6:30 on WJCT News 89.9.
Back in March, some states shut down their highway rest stops, including the parking, which for the truck drivers who keep this economy moving was kind of an issue.
There's already not enough parking in this country for our trucks.
I'm Kai Rizdal. Life on the road low these past 10 months. Next time on Marketplace.
Tomorrow night at 6 here on WJCT News 89.9. I'm Brendan Rivers. Join ADAPT this month as we talk about what a new Congress and presidential administration could mean for climate policy in Northeast Florida. On Thursday, January 28th at 7 p.m., I'll host a virtual discussion with experts who are working to slow climate change and protect the people who are most vulnerable to it. Reserve your free space now at wjct.org/events.
Some things you can clean up with the stroke of a pen, but the climate isn't one of them.
Paris alone is not enough.
The new administration plans to get serious about the climate. What regulations should we now expect? And can Congress deliver on promises made to grow the number of green jobs in America? That's next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. Well, last week's inauguration of President Biden was a serious affair, except for one thing. Memes of Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders have gone viral from the event. People have been posting that image of Bernie everywhere. You've seen him sitting with his coat and his mittens at the inauguration. Bernie's popping up in every possible location and photo you can imagine. We even got in on the act ourselves here on the show, posting a picture of Sanders right here in Studio 5. People just can't get enough of the Bernie memes, so naturally they are now on merchandise. Bobby Kelly of Springfield's Bobby K Boutique has created some Bernie merch to capitalize on this craze, and he's on the phone right now. Hi, Bobby.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing great, thanks. Good to hear your voice, and I know you're very busy. In fact, I heard your website even crashed when you decided to create some Bernie meme merch. Tell me about it.
Well, we just saw the opportunity as being fun and very lighthearted, and everybody was having a good time, and I think we could have all used the laugh when it first came out, and so we came up with some fun little things and put them on the website just to see what would happen. And I was like watching the traffic, and it was going from like normal web traffic to like hundreds of people at a time to 1,000 people at a time, and I was like, okay, this is going to be a journey for me for the next few days. So but it's been fine, and it's been fun, and we've added more, and we have worked with some of our other boutique partners, so we're actually sending it out to a bunch of other stores as well, so we're really excited about it.
Yeah, this is something everybody has gotten a chuckle out of, whatever their politics, and you're right, I think people just needed something to laugh about. So if people go to your website, what are their options? What can they pick up?
So we have one of our signature prayer candles that we always do with Bernie on it, looking very curmudgeonly, which I love. Then we also have a sticker and a magnet.
What's the most popular?
Right now, the candle, for sure.
The prayer candle?
Yep, the prayer candle is definitely a number one, but with the stickers right behind. So we have a bunch of our boutiques we work with are ordering them like 60 to 100 at a time, which is really exciting. So, we'll be able to send a little piece of Jacksonville out all over the country, which is exciting as well.
How fun is that? And how does the Bernie merch compare to some of the other products you've made? You've done Tiger King, you've done Gardner Minshew. Is Bernie outselling?
Bernie's really hot right now. Yeah, it's really exciting. When we did the Tiger King merchandise, everybody, I also think during quarantine, everybody kind of got a little obsessed with Tiger King because we had nothing else to do. And so that was a lot of fun, but we were able to have a lot more fun with this. This is very straightforward. This is like we all have the same mood. It's all very funny because we've all been there before.
So as a shop owner, you have been challenged in this pandemic like everybody else, but you've found some creative ways to pivot and keep the business lines flowing. I know almost a year ago you appeared on this show because you were doing a lot of mask production. As a small business owner, being flexible is key, isn't it, in these times?
I think one of the biggest challenges is making sure that you just know how to pivot in the right direction. I mean, we don't necessarily have a long-term answer to what's happening. We know that there are steps being made to get us to a place where we can kind of find a sense of normalcy. And so I think that as a small business owner right now, you'll see like a lot of the people who are doing the best are just maybe not doing what they set out to initially do or what their core business is, but you just have kind of no choice but to pivot around to accommodate what people are looking for. Like, for example, like my whole background is in apparel, and so now we're doing a lot of novelty stuff, but that's what really, generates that emotional connection with people and gets it in their hands. So that's kind of the path we're on right now, and as long as it's working and everybody's having fun and it's lighthearted, we're very excited to do it.
And, of course, people can buy the products through your website, shopbobbyk.com, I believe it is. But they can visit you at your store on Main Street in Springfield, too, yeah?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. We're at 1711 Main Street North. There's tons of new businesses opening over there, which is very exciting. So definitely encourage people to come check us out. And, if they can't, definitely stop on our website, and it's shopbobbyk.com.
Check it out, everybody. They actually saw their website crash when they launched their Bernie Sanders prayer candles. Just saying that makes me laugh. Bernie Sanders prayer candles and other items off of last week's viral meme of the senator from the inauguration. or go visit them on Main Street in Springfield. Bobby Kelly, it's the Bobby K Boutique. Thank you so much, and best of luck, continuing success.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, that's our show. Thanks to all of our guests and callers. Our producer is Heather Schatz. Josh Torres is our show director. Our news director is Jessica Palumbo, and Bill Bortsfield is our digital editor. Keep your feedback coming. Emails go to firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. And if you missed anything from today's show, you can catch our podcast tonight at 8 o'clock. Our rebroadcast tonight at 8 o'clock, or our podcast will be up later today. You can also listen to our podcast through the WJCT app. I'm Melissa Ross, and this is First Coast Connect on WJCT News 89.9. We'll be right back here again at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Keep masking up, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida